Hey guys, welcome back. This is Young Indie Chronicles here. We're coming to you with our second production update, which is to say that we have completed production in the United Kingdom. This was a big venture for us. We've been over here for 8 days now, 9 days now, I think, filming interviews every day of the week, going literally traversing the countryside to collect interviews with some of the legends of Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and so much more. And now we are at an end. Daniel, how you feeling?
Well, good. And just letting you guys know, if you're watching this not on Patreon, you're gonna get to see the beginning. We're gonna do a broad overview of what we've been doing the last few days since our last update. But if you want the full video, you need to go on Patreon. It'll be a Patreon exclusive full recap, like we did for the first half of the trip. So as always, Patreon's a great value we present, and we hope you check it out. But enjoy this intro to our recap video. And to answer your question, Peter, I'm exhausted. I was saying earlier, we finished our last interview today, and we drove back here, and I just felt all the strength just leaving my body as I sort of just finished the race, and I was like, I'm done.
Sure.
But I'm very happy, and we'll talk through what happened. But I think broadly, of course, the last time we spoke, we had just interviewed Jonathan Hales. And over the last few days, I think we've actually done more or as many interviews. I think it's even. I think, about 4 and 4.
Yeah.
Because we ended up, as we'll talk about maybe in the extended portion a little more, with a surprise interview.
Yeah.
So we did, oh boy. Well, I guess I think it's fair for the broad video. We should, and this has obviously been on our Instagram.
Sure.
Who did we interview the last 4 days?
Yeah. So after Jonathan Hales, we had the immense pleasure of meeting screen legend. Seems like such a small word, but it's such, there should be a better word for the person we met up with, but there's not. We met up with a screen legend, truly one of the all-time greats, Mr. Vic Armstrong. Vic has had a career, 65 years now in the industry. He was on set of, one of the early Bond movies, with Sean Connery. I mean, my God. And of course, for Indiana Jones fans, people would know that he was, for many years, Harrison Ford's go-to stunt person, partly just because of the physical resemblance that the two of them have, but also just, Vic is such a professional, such a pro, and so good at his job. He's also a second unit director and a director in his own right. And the reason we spoke to him is because he directed an episode of Young Indiana Jones, Austria, 1917, and was also the second unit director on the first episode of Mexico, where he taught Sean how to ride a horse, basically. I mean, it was very important, just setting up kind of the stunt standards for the show. And then also a little less known fact, but he was second unit director on the Harrison Ford bookends for Mystery of the Blues. And that was technically the last time he stood in for Harrison in the Indiana Jones role. He would have been, the Indy who was driving the truck across the snow and things of that sort. So it was really great to talk to Vic. And
well, it's important to point out too that that Austria episode was his directorial debut.
Yeah,
that was something that we discussed in the interview, which you'll see. How important that was to sort of establishing his career, and he was directing films very soon thereafter. I mean,
that's right.
I think technically by the time he comes back from Mystery of the Blues, he was making Joshua Tree. I don't know if he had finished it or if he was in the process, but he was already working on his own film.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was a big boost of confidence to his backers.
Sure.
That, George Lucas was willing to trust him with an episode of his television show. So
yeah, that's right.
It was great. And, Vic's home, it's really a tribute. He has this, wall of memorabilia from all the films he's been on, signed James Bond posters signed by Pierce Brosnan, of course, which he was second unit director on most of those films.
Yeah.
And a lot of young indie stuff. And, on our podcast, he mentioned this contract that, Rick sent him handwritten, a fax, and he had it. It's framed on the wall. You have to see it. So really wonderful time seeing Vic.
Absolutely. And you say wall, I mean, it's really the whole house. It's just this pantheon of film memorabilia, all from his own productions, all from stuff he's all worked on. He keeps these collectibles, or he asks people to sign stuff for him. And so it's really just this little mini museum in many ways, So it was really special to talk to him, and immense honor there. And the day after that, so that would have been Friday.
No, Thursday. You're right, Friday.
Friday.
Okay, like I don't know what day.
Right. Yeah, I know. I'm like, wait a minute.
Well, yeah, because what happened was, we had a schedule change. We were going to have an interview that was going to be in the evening that night, and it had to be pushed. And of course, you always get nervous when that happens. Like, oh man, what if it falls through? You know? But that didn't happen.
Yes.
So that meant on Friday we had 2 interviews. Let's talk about the first one, which was really exciting and special for us. Who was the person we interviewed in the morning?
So, very first interview on Friday, we went into London. We had the immense pleasure of visiting ILM in London, which was very cool, very special. And we met Allison Smith, who was the visual effects supervisor on Young Indiana Jones first 2 seasons, Emmy Award-winning for her work on that. And that was wild. That was another one we were like a little unsure if we'd get, because she's incredibly busy, obviously working on so many productions right now. And would we be able to get a little bit of time with her? But then we met up. It was really fantastic. Maybe we'll go more into some details in the Patreon version. But needless to say, just a very warm, very gracious person. And it was really fun too. What we've been doing on this this project is we've been getting all of our interview guests to sign copies of the Volume 3 DVD set, with the hope of either
some of the backers are getting it, or
some are. If you've added it,
right,
you can add it, and you still can. But some of our key big backers will likely get a copy of this as well. But Allison said she had never been asked for an autograph before, and I think this really goes to why we're doing this. Allison, in many ways, is one of the forerunners of the whole visual effects movement that we have today. The whole forerunner of this digital revolution, and she hasn't got her due.
I want to talk more, maybe on Patreon. I want to talk in some detail about that. I think it's really worth a strong conversation.
Absolutely. But still, very special, very, very great time. I think we could have talked to her for hours.
Yeah.
We only had a small window.
We had a hard out.
But we really such a treasure trove of information. And then we raced back to
this room, which you will see in the documentary.
And we had the immense pleasure of welcoming Gavin Bocquet to our humble abode. Gavin was the production designer on Young Indy. He was also the production designer on the Star Wars prequels, and has done so many other films. Currently, he's working on the Avengers Doomsday, one of the big Marvel movie.
I think I know what Avengers Doomsday is.
For those in the back, I don't know. But he came here, wonderful guy. He's been such a good friend of the show and friend of the documentary. For those of you Kickstarter backers who pre-ordered some signed items from him, he did sign them, so you will be getting them. So congratulations on that. And if you didn't pre-order them, then
you're out of luck.
You're out of luck. That's it.
But make sure those are all turned off, because we're
you should.
We can't get any more. Be refunding people.
But needless to say, those of you that did pre-order, thank you so much. So very kind of you, and a big support for us. But Gavin, just a wealth of info. Has such a fascinating and fun life, and it's one of those guys you can just really feel loves what he does, which is very cool to see. It's always fun to see that, and kind of a common denominator, I'd say, from a lot of the people we've spoken to. Just a lot of joy with him. And so that was Friday. And then, as we were talking to Gavin, as he was here.
Well, let me tell the story. Okay. It's good. So when we were with Jonathan on Wednesday, he was asking us about, people that Jonathan Hales, excuse me, Mr. Hales, people that we, have you talked to this person? Are you going to talk to this person? And so forth. And we're talking about that. And, as always, there's always a couple of people we try to reach and, we can't reach, we don't know how to reach. And so you ask, were you in touch with this person? And often the answer is no. And there were a couple people where he was like, no, I'm not still in touch. I wish I was still in touch with that person. And then one name came up and he said, oh, I think I am in touch with that person. And we asked, would you be willing to reach out? And he said he would make an effort. So I don't remember what day this was. It might have been the Thursday that he emailed you. No, actually, it couldn't have been.
I think it was yesterday.
It was yesterday.
Yeah.
It was yesterday. So while we were on our way to ILM, Peter shows me an email from Jonathan Hales that he had reached Carl Schultz, who was the director of the first episode of The Curse of the Jackal, not even just the Mexico portion, but also the George Hall Old Indy portion. So he's the credited director of the episode, with the Egypt segment being credited to Jim O'Brien. And many other episodes. In fact, as we did the math, the most hours He's directed more hours of Young Indiana Jones than anyone else.
Yeah.
And we've been wanting to reach him for the podcast for years now. We've had no way to reach him. And so Jonathan was willing to reach out. And Jonathan sent his email saying, Carl would be interested in hearing from you. And he gave us his phone number. And of course, we're on the train going into London. And so we're like, well, all right, and I remember saying to Peter, said, well, look, we got to go interview Allison. Like, let's not get distracted. After the interview, give a call, reach out to Carl. Now, my perception, did you call him when we came back to the apartment when I was parking the car?
You were parking the car. I tried calling. He didn't answer, which totally understandable. I wouldn't answer a random number either. So I shoot him a text through WhatsApp. Everybody uses WhatsApp over here. So I sent him a text. I explained who I was, Jonathan Ailes, to talk to you about us. And then
so while we're with Gavin, Peter says that he goes, excuse me, I have to take a phone call. And I'm like, well, that sounds very serious. And Gavin is sitting very close to where I'm right now. And so I'm talking to Gavin. Gavin's sitting there kind of looking a little curious. So I say to Gavin, I said, well, I'm hoping, because I don't know what's going on. I'm hoping that's Carl Schultz. I said, we were put in touch with him by Jonathan Ailes. Of course, it's Friday. We're leaving Sunday. And, but I said, we'll find out. So then Peter comes back and Peter says,
well, I'm blanking on what it said. I think I was like, we got Carl Schultz for tomorrow. I guess we have to go to Sussex
which I didn't know where that was.
Yeah. I only knew where it was because I'm a rabid Sherlock Holmes fan and Sussex Vampire. Everybody knows that story. But it came together very quickly. I suggested a time. Carl agreed, and we drove down there this morning. I mean, it was.
It was about just over 12 hours notice. Really.
Yeah, truly.
We locked it in.
Yeah, so quick. And he was very gracious. Took time to speak with us. Really just one of the guys that laid the groundwork in so many ways for what Young Indy was. He talked about how George was always very happy with Carl's work because he would always give him material. Some directors want to direct on the camera, and Carl was someone who was always willing to give George a lot of coverage, a lot of angles, and George loves that because George was an editor. He loves that kind of stuff. So Carl, it was just really great to be able to check that off the list of having someone, so important to the history of Young Indiana Jones. So.
Well, in the United States, it's considered normal that the director of a pilot of television is setting the sort of the directorial tone of the show. And while Carl was incredibly modest and really, really didn't want to take any airs for himself on that, I think he did describe his directing philosophy. And I feel that that was carried through. And I would imagine it would be only natural for many directors who came in later to look at that first episode and go, I see what they're doing. I'm going to follow in that tradition. So I think he really deserves that credit and is an excellent director, and it was an honor to speak with him. I'm glad. And again, we didn't have Carl on the schedule to come here. We miraculously got everyone that we were speaking to that was here in the UK. Some of these schedules locked in, very, very last minute, but we got everybody. And then to get Carl to get an additional interview to go beyond what we'd even planned for. It's really just been an unqualified success. I don't even know how else to describe it.
Truly. I mean, Carl, he's really been happily retired for over 20 years now. And, very much off the radar. It was unclear where he was. I had reached out to his agency from Australia, and they were like, he hasn't been with us in years, but here's his email. You emailed the email. It's dead email. It's like, this was very much a dead end, and someone who seemed just very content in his anonymity. So to be able to track him down and be able to get some info and, or get the interview for our documentary, it's been very special and just very, very positive. And, Carl, if you're ever watching this, thank you very much. It was very kind of you. Very kind of you.
Before we shift over to the Patreon exclusive portion, I think what I would love to sort of end this section on is, everyone we spoke to this week seems sort of tickled and pleased that somebody cares about this show, that they're, and frankly, the fact that you, if you're watching, most likely back this campaign, that you care about the show, that you were willing to invest your money and your time and your fandom into supporting this project and learning about their work, I think they were incredibly touched by that.
Sure.
And all of them expressed that in different ways.
Yeah.
And, someone like Allison Smith-Murphy, who knows the last time anyone asked her about her work on this show.
Yeah.
And she bled and she sweat and she put a lot of work into this and broke barriers and broke through boundaries, and what could be done,
Yeah.
And, even Vic, who, obviously has accolades and, has been in so many things and is famous, in a great way. This is something that's clearly close to his heart, something he had passion for, was excited to do, was honored to be asked to do, you know? And I think we've been privileged to bring this to them, and it's because of you and your support. So thank you very much. And if you want to support more, you can continue watching on Patreon.